Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be giving this Squier Fender Stratocaster a setup. I recently purchased this off Facebook Marketplace for 65 quid, which I think is a pretty decent price for a 2021 Squier Strat. So what I want to do with this guitar today is, like I say, is give her a full setup. We'll clean her up, put some new strings on, set all the action, intonation, truss rod, all the good stuff, pick up heights and see if there's any issues along the way. So yeah, I ain't going to go into full detail about the specs of this, so you'd have to keep an eye out for the future review video, but I think the next thing we'll do is put on the workbench and yeah, let's start giving a setup. Right, so first job, we're going to take off the old strings. I always make sure I take the tension out the strings before cutting them, because you don't want to damage your truss rod. Now these Affinity Strats come with the split tuners, so they've got the little shaft that goes down. They're a bit like the vintage style tuners, so they come off nice and easy. Right, and then on the back we should be able to push the string straight out. There's a nice access hole on these. I will be taking this cover off in a little bit. I'll explain that a bit later on. Now, if some of these strings do get stuck, what I tend to do is get the high E string, and then you can force the remaining part of the string out. Just put it down the hole, give it a little push and a wiggle, and they normally pop out. Sometimes these ball ends get stuck in the shaft of the bridge there on the back, but yep, they're all out. Alright, that's the strings out of the way. So I think what I'm going to do now is give the body a good clean up, because this is quite dusty even on the headstock. But yeah, as you can see on these, they're like modern style tuners, but they've got the vintage style shafts in them, which I prefer actually. Good for changing strings, nice and easy, and they stay in tune pretty decent. So right, let's give her a little clean up now. So I'm just going to use some good old-fashioned multi-surface polish just to clean the body, do the headstock. Yeah, this is in pretty decent condition. There's a couple of little dings on the body. These have got a poplar wood body, so the wood is quite soft on these. Yeah, this is a charcoal frost metallic finish, which looks really nice actually. It's got just a subtle metallic finish to it. But yeah, it's got a little ding on the back of the body there and a little one there, but we can live with that. Now, I've had a few of these Affinities with these split shaft tuners before, and I actually quite like these tuners. They do hold tune well. There's a little mark on the headstock there where it looks like the previous owner had a tuner on there, one of them clip-on tuners, and they do tend to mark the headstocks. Right, so what I'm going to do next is get my trusty old sanding block, a sponge, fine grit sanding sponge, and what I tend to do is just give the frets a little rub down. There's no real fretwear on this guitar at all actually, and there's no sharp frets, so we just want to take the top layer of grime off the frets. That should do the job. Anybody worrying about any metal filings? Yeah, simply just gently wipe it all off and it's just good to go. Right, so time to nourish the Indian Laurel fingerboard. Now these Indian Laurel boards do tend to dry out quite easy, so we're going to get some Dunlop lemon oil, give her a little coating. She might need a couple of coats depending how dry it is. And we rub that in. I'm going to let that dry for about 5 minutes, see how much it absorbs in. It may need, like I say, another coat. Because for some reason Indian Laurel really dries out pretty quick. I much prefer rosewood. I wish they'd go back to that on all Squier guitars. Right, while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm just going to check these nuts on the tuner. They should be 10mm. Yep, because these tend to go loose over time. So I'm just going to give a little tweak up, because this helps with tuning if these go loose, which they, like I say, they always tend to do. It knocks your tuning out of whack. Right, that's good to go. So yeah, I'm just going to let this sit for 5 minutes and then see how much this absorbs in. Right, I think I'm going to give it another coat. Have a good soaking. Now basically you want to keep applying this until the wood is sort of saturated, if you know what I mean, just enough so it stops absorbing in. Obviously you don't want to soak it too much, but just a bit at a time. Once it reaches like a saturation point, it won't absorb in anymore. Again, we'll leave this for 5 minutes, and I think that should be enough, to be fair. Right, so that's the Indian Laurel fingerboard, nice and nourished. Okay, so what I want to do next is flip her over, and I need to take the back cover off. So 6 screws on the back of this. And you can access the back cavity, because what I want to do is the tremolo setup on a Strat. I don't use them. What I prefer is having the bridge plate flat to the body. So what we need to do is get access to the claw and the springs that hold the floating tremolo in place. It's kind of like hardtailing it, but if you snap a string it will go out of tune again. So yeah, what I tend to do is screw that claw right in. It's only got 2 springs in there, so we may add at least another spring. So if we put the claw right into the body as far as we can go, get more tension on this, and that will pull that tremolo right back towards the body. As you can see at the minute it's flat, so we may need to lower these pole pieces, because on the new Affinities they've only got two 2-point system, so lower them as low as they'll go, lower that flat to the body, and then that ain't going to go nowhere. But another thing you can do if you really want to make sure it doesn't move is you can, once you've done that, get a little block of wood, wedge it in there, so if you do snap a string, that ain't moving anywhere. But because I only play at home nowadays, a bit of an unsociable player, it doesn't really matter for me. So yeah, I'm going to try and screw these in as far as they'll go, and then I'll have a little look from my parts stash and try and find at least another spring. It is probably best to stick 5 springs on. Sometimes what you'll find, where these springs go in these holes, some of these holes ain't actually cut, but I think these are. I've noticed that on a few Strats over the years. Let's move that grounding cable out of the way. So what we're going to do is screw these in bit by bit. It would be easier to take these springs out, but let's see how far we go with that. I think once we put another spring on, there's going to be enough tension anyway. I was going to try and see if I've got an Allen key to fit these. Okay, got an Allen key that fits. So we're going to drop these screws down as low as they'll go. I did have all my little toolboxes out. I looked in the first toolbox, didn't see it, went through a load more in other places. Had a look again and it was in the first toolbox I looked in. Alright, so get these turned in one by one just to make sure the bridge plate goes down nice and evenly. Right, that one's done. Alright, so that is now completely flat. I've also found another spring, so hopefully that'll be enough tension. Give these another go. Trouble is with these screws nowadays, they're like monkey metal, we don't want to round them off. Right, so yeah, we're going to go with 3. If it still flicks back up when we put the strings on, I may stick another 2 springs on. We'll go 5 on the back, but yep, that's that bit done. So what we need to do now is check the neck, check the relief in the neck. So I've got my slotted straight edge on, and what we want to do now is look for gaps around the middle of the neck, and this actually looks like it's perfectly straight, if I'm honest. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So we don't need to adjust the truss rod, so I think now we can go ahead and put the strings on. Now the seller of this guitar gave me a set of super slinkies, 9 to 42, which is perfect for a 25.5 inch scale. That's a gauge of strings I like used on these for the slinky bends. So we're gonna fit them now. Alright, preparation. I need a string winder and some snips. So we go in the back through the hole, pull the string all the way through. Right, so I'll get you in a little bit closer for this one, because when you've got the shaft style tuners, what I tend to do is pull the string all the way through, count 2 tuners across, and that's where we snip it, like that. And then we put the string through the shaft, kink it down, and then over, hold it tight. We get our winder, move that out of the way, and then tune her up. Alright, that's cool. So what we need to do now is go on to the next one. So when you get onto these last two tuners and you ain't got enough tuners to count up, what you do is say you want to cut the string there, and then you count back 2, and then you know you need a snippet there. Simple as that. Right, onwards to the next 5 strings. Right, now we've got the strings on, I've tuned them up. We need to stretch the strings out. So basically you stretch your string, it's going to drop down maybe like a step or 2. Give it a good stretch. Don't be too shy on your, obviously, treble strings. Just be a bit careful you don't snap them. But yeah, keep stretching, tuning until your guitar stays in tune. And that's when you know your strings are fully stretched. So I'm just going to go through, stretch all the strings, and then we'll go on to the next step. So the next step is checking the neck relief. Now we know the neck was nice and straight, but we want to see how much tension the strings add to see if there's enough neck relief. So put a capo on the 1st fret, and then where the 1st fret meets the body, hold that down, and on the 8th fret we get a string ruler, and then I want to check the 8th fret that we're at around about 0.3 millimeters, which, yeah, this is pretty much perfect, good to go. So yep, neck relief's done. So now we know the neck relief is good. We want to set the string height. Now as I've dropped the bridge down, the strings are going to drop right to the fingerboard. So on the 12th fret with our string ruler, it's got all the measurements on there. I want to check the string height. So on the low E side it's currently at 0.5 millimeter, and on the high E side we're at 0.25. so these have all got to come up quite a way, and to adjust them you get a little Allen key. If you buy these brand new, you normally get an Allen key with it. You've got 2 little screws on each saddle, so you need to adjust them in a pair so the saddle stays flat to the body, and then raise it up or raise it down, whatever you need doing to adjust the height. But make sure you always make sure that the saddle is level to the bridge plate. So yeah, I'm gonna go through these. I need to raise this up quite a fair bit, and then in between each tweak that you make, like when you're doing the truss rod or string height, make sure you tune the guitar back up. You can loosen the strings off just to make these movements a bit easier. I'm probably going to have to do it with this because it's going to go mega taut. So next up we need to sort out the intonation, and what you need to do with that is make sure obviously your guitar's in tune. So E string, open E in tune, and then on your 12th fret, which is the octave of the E, strum that, and if it's out of tune, either sharp or flat, you adjust it via the screw at the back of the bridge there, just a Phillips head screw, and then turn it in and out as required. Then when they're both in tune together, you know your intonation's sorted, and then you repeat that for all 6 strings. So I'm just going to quickly check this, and then after that I think we'll have a quick look at the pickup height, and then we're good to go. So for pickup height, personally I don't use any set measurements. What I tend to do is I'll work off the bridge pickup. I'll get the bridge pickup as high as I can to the strings before they start magnetizing and pulling the string in or making it vibrate. So what we do is with a screwdriver we can adjust the pickup height with these screws either side, and then what I want to do is have the pickup slightly higher on the treble side, and have a little play around with that. Make sure you've got it sounding how you want it. In fact, I think I'll just raise this up just a tad. Again, the treble side a little bit higher, because it gives you a nice clear tone. Obviously have a little listen, make sure it ain't distorted. So what you want to do next is check the sound level, the volume level compared to the middle pickup. I got a bit of a scratchy selector switch, bit of dust in there. So them 2 pickups sound like they're, in terms of volume, pretty level. So then we go on to the neck, which is miles louder. So we need to drop that neck pickup down. Obviously, if you like a loud neck pickup, you know, it's entirely up to you if you want it that loud. But I like things done a certain way. I may drop that middle down just a tad, put it up there. Let's try that. Obviously the neck pickup's going to be bassier, so it can deceive you a little bit. That seems to be alright. So I think we're pretty much good to go now. I may stretch some strings out a bit more and check all my adjustments tomorrow. I'll leave it overnight because I've done some quite big changes, so it may settle overnight. We'll check it all again. But yeah, we've cleaned the guitar up, we've cleaned the fingerboard, cleaned the frets, put some new strings on, checked the neck relief, adjusted the intonation, adjusted the string height, set the pickups up. So yeah, I think we're all good to go. Put another string in the back, that seems to be holding well, still flat to the body. I think what we'll do now is get that cover back on, and then we'll have a little test run. Right, so I think she's pretty much good to go for a full review video. New set of strings all set up, the bridge is holding out well. She sounds pretty darn good actually, just through the little Line 6 workshop amp. But yeah, if you enjoyed today's video, learned something along the way, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, the Guitar Manifesto, and make sure you keep an eye out for the full review video of this Squier Affinity Stratocaster. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you all soon. Peace out.